بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. I shared a hadith about this topic, which is a hadith narrated by Thawban radiallahu anh, the freed slave of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which basically was saying that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Who will guarantee one thing for me and I will guarantee Al-Jannah for him?" So Thawban said, "I can." So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Don't ask people anything." He said yes. And the narrator said that he, Thawban, didn't ask for anything after that. And even another narration, he said that Thawban's whip would drop from him whilst he's riding. So he wouldn't say to anybody, "Pass me that whip." Rather, he would get down and pass get the whip himself. And that's something similar that has been narrated with other Sahaba, like Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. There's a narration by Imam Ahmad that he would be riding his camel and the whip would drop from him. He would stop and he would bring the camel down. Now, I'm sure you can imagine the camel is a high animal. It's not like riding a horse. Even a horse is not easy to get up and off for it, but the camel, you can't sort of jump off a camel. You have to bring the camel down. But even then, you would bring the camel down, get off, pick up the whip, and then get back on the camel and get the camel up again and move again. All of that because when he was asked, he said, "I took a pledge with the Prophet ﷺ that I would not ask people for anything." So the Sahaba, they understood this whole concept of not asking people for anything in this very broad sense. Obviously, if we wanted to, examine that further, we could say that the meaning here, in that sense, is to understand that it's about not begging, not begging from people, not asking for food or money or things like that. We have the hadith here of Abu Dharr, again narrated by Imam Ahmad, "My beloved companion, my Khalil sallallahu alaihi wasallam, meaning the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, commanded me to do 7 things: to love the poor and to be close to them, to look at those who are below me in terms of financial status or level, not to look at those who are above me, and he commanded me to uphold the ties of kinship even if they turn away, and he commanded me not to ask anyone for anything." So you can see that's a repeated theme of the Prophet ﷺ encouraging the Sahaba and obviously the broader Ummah to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, depend on Allah first and foremost, and then to depend on oneself in terms of not asking people, even as we saw in this narration about not even asking for a whip. It falls from you. It's to that extent, and that kind of sort of is a mentality really here about trying to change your perspective in terms of what you do. Obviously, when you are begging, and that's why the Prophet ﷺ, in this hadith by A'idh ibn Amr, and in other hadith, he really discouraged begging. If you really knew what is entailed in asking, meaning begging, then no one would walk to anyone to ask them anything. And in the other hadith, for one of you to go and gather firewood on his back, it is better than him asking others who may give him or deny him, narrated by Al-Bukhari. So even to go into the physical notions of going gathering firewood, carrying it on your back, it's all physical activity, but it's better than to ask people for anything. And that is sort of the general notion here, is about avoiding begging, because when you are begging, it puts you in a weak position. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ in another hadith said, "Al-yadul ulya khayrun min al-yadus sufla." The upper hand is better than the lower hand, meaning the one that gives is better than the one that takes. And also it is about encouraging people, not to rely on others, but really to have kind of almost like that dependence on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you need something, first and foremost, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask Allah your needs. Make dua, make that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just in begging, but in all aspects. Because begging, more specifically, is, like we said, it's a negative thing. In one narration, which is by Samura ibn Jundub, from narrated by Abu Dawood, the Prophet ﷺ said, when you ask people, these questions that you ask of people, begging is like injuries, it's like wounds, it's like scratches that are on your that person will bring to his face. So if anybody wants those scratches, then let him go ahead. And if anybody wants to leave them, then let him not ask. So it is an encouragement to seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, like we said, obviously asking people for help, for support in matters of the dunya and so on. We're not saying it's haram, but this is a high level. This is one of the modes to attain Jannah. It's a guaranteeing, the Prophet ﷺ, as we see the hadith, guaranteeing you, if you do this, you'll be guaranteed the Jannah. It's a mode. Now, if you need something, you need to ask people, or even in the matters of deen, you need help, you need assistance, then that is fine. We're not saying this is wrong, but this is the kind of understanding that it is given to us by this hadith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that.